Represent myself. I am. Does somebody leave their glasses? There you go.
Those would be off.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Then you can see me better. So I'm the former finance manager for Dawnnicole College. I worked for them 2009 to 2012. I was with ITT Tech for 10 years, starting in 1999. I am a student. I attended ITT Tech, University of Phoenix, also some college here in California, doesn't matter. But I've been in this industry for a long time. I'm also a borrower. I have $117,000 in student loan debt. So I am here representing the voiceless, representing the students that are not being heard, no matter how many times we put them in front of the Department of Education. Their stories still fall to the wayside. So I would like to, at this public hearing, I would like to comment on the issues that we all, I mean, in truth, we all are really facing. It's not just the Department of Education. As it relates to borrower discharge, I also want to talk about the failed leadership of the Department of Education and the role of this suggested committee that they're going to put together starting early next year. First off, I would like to say that, the Department of Education really needs to stop with all the propaganda that they're using to suggest that they actually have this figured out and are actually ready to do the right thing for the students impacted the most by this crisis. When I look at the language, when I look at the public announcements that are released, when I read articles where any member of the Department of Education is cited, the language is just half-assed attempts to communicate with the borrowers, but it doesn't actually communicate with the borrowers. It's not saying what it actually needs to say. The Department of Education does not clearly state things that they need to state and define what they mean. One example that I'll use is in a lot of the announcements they keep talking about, taxpayers are really important in this process. Well, I would just like to say that student borrowers are taxpayers too, but it kind of swings the conversation, to the general population reading it and skipping over the fact that I'm a taxpayer, I have student loan debt, I'm part of that category too. So I think statements need to be broader and more clear, especially when it's going out to the public. The other concern I have with the language and the communication with the Department of Education is their attempts to actually notify students affected by these issues. We know that, and my numbers may not be perfect, they could be a few weeks older, but we know that there's at least over 4,000 borrower defense claims. We know that over 40,000 healed students are eligible, but yet only 2,000 have actually applied. In August, the Department of Education sent out information in PDFs to eligible healed students, but didn't take into consideration that given the economic hardship of these students, most of them don't have internet, they don't have computers, they're using their smartphones to access applications that can't be accessed. So this causes another obstacle that the students have to face when they're actually legitimately trying to access the really important forms and stuff that they need to apply for this process. As of August, the Department of Ed has also received over 7,800 closed school claims. Not even half of them have been approved yet. Every day that goes by and these students' lives matter. As two of the individuals here today have already mentioned the stories of the students, it doesn't get any harsher than what we're seeing. They're being evicted, they're not able to rent homes, and this goes beyond just the fact that they can't even get the jobs that they were promised when they're in school. So as the clock ticks on, the department's failure to actually do something that you guys have the legal authority to do, it perpetuates this crisis that we're facing. This committee is great. Thank you guys for putting this together, but it doesn't change the fact that you guys already have the legal authority to offer class-wide discharges. Arnie Duncan could sign a paper today, and there could be a lot of discharge that would benefit thousands and thousands of individuals. The language, so the committee, I believe, for the record, I believe that the committee really needs to focus on the language that the Department of Education uses as we go forward with this process. As somebody that's been in financial aid and higher education for many years, this it does get complicated, and there's a lot of terminology that could be left to interpretation. And if you are not a trained attorney or a trained financial aid expert, it leaves a lot of students out of the conversation and really understanding these high-level processes. We can change the language, bring it down to a level where people can actually join in the conversations and participate more, so that the students actually understand what decisions are being made on their behalf. So again, that's something the committee should be tasked with. Let's see. Yeah, the Department of Education has just really been unprepared in handling a process that's been on the books since, I believe, 1994. And I mean, I don't even know what to say about the fact that you guys would even possibly consider not including all loans. 2010 is not the mark of these issues with for-profit schools. I've been working for them since 1999. I've seen the practices of the recruiting practices change. I've seen tuition increase. I've seen these schools be investigated. I mean, I was sitting in my office in Henderson, Nevada when ITT Tech was investigated, and the units came in to seize documents. So you guys cannot put out there that you guys have not known of what's been going on. It dates back far beyond 2014 with the collapse of Corinthian, and far beyond 2010. So the committee really needs to, I think, really keep their finger on the pulse with this, as far as how far back you guys are willing to go when it comes to defense to repayment. Let's see. Class-wide discharge, it's already been brought up this morning. That's easy, that's a given. There's no reason why we would individualize this process and place the burden on students where, hello, they did not go to law school. I'm so sorry. Even some of these processes I read myself, and it just, I mean, it takes a group of us to sit down and really brainstorm to understand and then come up with ideas and tactics. So to individualize this process and require evidence and proof is absolutely absurd. The other thing is over the years, one of the ways these for-profit schools has cut costs is they've expedited the process by using electronic signatures. Okay, I don't know how many times students came in, they signed electronically, and they did not leave with a printout, right? We're trying to be, you know, tree earth friendly, and schools weren't necessarily printing documents. So to place the burden on them that they need to come up with documentation of proof when you guys have it because you guys have been investigating them, attorney generals have been investigating them, enough evidence is there. Class-wide discharge. Even in the reports from the BDSM, he's even stated in his reports that the evidence should not have to come from the students. So that's a sign of hope there. Let's just say hello to that. The other thing that I want to speak to before I finish is in your guys' public announcement, you guys suggest that you really want this committee to be diversified. I want you guys to define what does diversification look like to you and this branch of the government. Because in my experience so far, I haven't seen much diversity amongst the groups that you guys put together. Usually you get some powerful attorneys, probably some representation from these for-profit schools, but what we are calling for is to be guaranteed and ensured that students from these schools will be represented, not just on these little silos of committees that you guys want to create, but in all committees. Every committee that is going to influence your decision, the students must represent themselves. They must be given the agency to speak on their own behalf, because I will say right now, the Department of Education is not somebody I would trust as a student borrower to speak on my behalf. I would also not trust a for-profit school representative to speak on my behalf if I was a student looking for defense to repayment. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll wrap it up there. Thank you guys. Take care.